story over and over. It's just, okay, so the mentor is Gandalf or Obi-Wan Kenobi or Jack on Titanic, you know, but it's...
Molly Brown was also
Molly
a mentor.
Brown,
Remember
yeah,
her?
you know, but it's almost the same story. So you're at sea, you're in space, but it's almost the same story being told over and over again. There really isn't a lot new. It's how you package it.
Yep.
Though, but this is the structure behind everything.
So typically, the next thing that happens is a series of tests, meeting and gathering allies, and staving off and fighting enemies.
Back to you. So back to Chris and the example he gave earlier from the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
There they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are your allies in your tests. The
So
lion,
Dorothy
the
had to go through a
scarecrow.
series of tests, right? She gained during those tests a bunch of allies: Scarecrow, Lion, Tin Man. She made some enemies, or she learned more about her enemy, the Wicked Witch, and the flying monkeys, and the trees.
Yeah, the apple
Speaking
tree.
of the Wicked Witch, have any of you guys seen Wicked?
Yes,
I've read the book. I haven't seen it.
I've seen it
It's
twice.
I
on
heard it's
Broadway.
really good.
Is it good?
It really is.
I haven't
The
seen
book
it.
was
I heard
great.
it was good.
Yeah, I haven't read the book, but I saw
The
the play.
and I saw it with the original cast.
Mm.
Yeah,
Just-
Elijah
That was
Starr.
good.
Christian Chenoweth.
You see the
and-
deep
Oh.
pack?
Yeah, that's good.
I want to see it.
All right, so this is kind of easy to understand, right?
Mhm.
So the next thing, this one is probably the most difficult, I think. If I spell anything wrong, just tell me the right approach. Approach the innermost cave. Sorry to spell cove. All right, this. All right, so
You're tilting a little bit there.
Trailing off.
Titanic,
check
we're
this out.
listening on one side.
yeah, you're right. Okay,
But it's all caps and it is proper police writing.
there you go.
Yeah.
Police writing.
Yes.
Court writing is how we do
There
it.
you go.
Yep. All right, so this is difficult for a lot of people, but okay, if you look at this, I mean, there's kind of a lot of stuff going on. You know, action, meeting the mentor, crossing the threshold, especially here, test, allies, enemies. There's lots of stuff going on. You can't throw all the stuff at your reader or your viewer. You have to give them a break, chance to breathe a little bit. So usually this approach to the innermost cave is a little slower point, but it's where the hero goes somewhere and becomes reflective and thinks about what's about to happen. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the next one, just so you can put this in perspective. The next one is the ordeal. So, you know, this is the fight. This is the, I won't say it necessarily is the climax, but it's where everything breaks loose right here, right? So this is this quiet.
The calm before the storm.
That's the way to look at it, the calm before the storm. I mean, even you look at the Bible, and Jesus, before he was crucified, he went on the mount. Where was the garden? It was the garden.
Gethsemane.
Yeah, and that was the approach to the innermost cave. It was time to reflect and go, you know, do I want to do this? Dorothy, what's her innermost cave?
It's kind of late in the movie.
Yeah.
Is it Oz or is it the?
Before the big ordeal, I'm trying to
I
think.
mean, the whole time she's trying to get home towards the end, right? And I think that's when she starts getting a little bit torn. She's got friends
Oh
here,
yeah. Mm.
but I'm not sure where she
But
was
it's-
reflects.
it's a
Let's
little
hope that
deceptive.
If you think of the big ordeal as her facing
It's
down
right before
the witch.
the witch, yeah.
Oh. So
Throwing the
right
water on
before
the
She
witch.
throws the water
What
on
happens
the witch.
to
Where is
her
she?
before that?
Oh, she sees her aunt in the.
Hourglass.
Oh.
She's trapped.
She's trapped. She's a prisoner of the witch.
Right.
And so the witch turns the hourglass over. So when
Oh,
this
that's
runs
right.
out, you're going to die. You know, because I'm going to cut those shoes off or whatever she says, right? And so she leaves Dorothy, and Dorothy, you know, isn't that the worst thing? You know something bad's about to happen. You're by yourself, and your mind's going like this. It's really torturous. And so Dorothy is in her innermost cave at that point. But think about it. Even the witch's lair at that point resembles a cave. I mean, it's figurative and literal to a certain extent.
Have y'all seen Super 8?
Yes.
Good story.
No, it is good. See the kids in their ordinary world.
I mean, it's
the
like the
train
modern day
drills.
Goonies.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have seen that.
Yeah.
Which Goonies?
Yeah, and Goonies, they're the cave, sort of, right? So what's some
It's
other
our time
movies
down
here?
here.
Well, the one I saw this weekend, the one I'm running through my mind is The Avengers. you know, of course, it's the classic, you know, hero, so you can go right down that list, but there's a couple little twists and turns where they do this weird thing where they kind of come back. It's like cyclical almost in the way they do it, because you're thinking, oh, we've crossed the threshold. But wait a minute, have we really? Then there's more reflection, and so some twists and turns.
I wonder if the innermost cave in that one, for those who haven't, you know, Avengers, it's just all the superheroes are coming together in this movie,
Great.
and the start of it, they're all kind of almost fighting each other to do their own superhero thing,
Right.
but then one of their mentors is killed. And to me, that approaching the innermost cave is where they all kind of come together and reflect, and we are going to band together to avenge his memory.
I think you're right.
And then they go out for the ordeal where they're like, we are together as a group now. And
They're
we're
sitting
gonna
at a
take on this
conference
threat.
room
But
table.
they're
I know.
approaching the
But it's
innermost
the
cave
innermost
is
cave.
where they're like, let's
It's when he throws
do this.
the
yeah.
cards on the table. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
The
quiet,
trading
still
card,
moment where
And
you could go out, you know, they
So,
could walk, they could come
Just
together.
think your hero gets very reflective here, but they also do a kind of search inward. That's a good way to
And
think
again,
of
it's
it.
building the suspense, because if you're writing a novel, or even a nonfiction, it should be that they could go either way. Like they
That's
might
right.
very
I don't wanna do
seriously
this.
consider
They-
walking away from this, or giving up, or
You
this
know
is
they're
too
not,
hard,
but
or I
it-
can't do
but
it, or my mentor's
the-
gone, I don't
the
have the
suspension's
person
there,
who,
yeah.
so there's tension there that you don't necessarily know that they're gonna go face this ordeal. You're creating that. Will they, won't they? Oh gosh, I hope they don't give up. I mean, we know they won't because
Or
that's
even
how
how-
stories go, but
How
good
do
writers
we have,
make you
know,
wonder.
Yeah.
Right. Is this all making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, even in the Bible, Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus goes, "Can this cup be taken from me?" Is that where they say that? Yeah.
No,
But at that point, it's like, "There's any way I don't want to go through it." It's
Right.
He didn't
Again,
want to do it.
you don't know. You
Reflect.
think there's a chance that the hero is not going to go through with what they need to go through.
Or you can see the reluctance. I mean, you're showing the reader that maybe they're like, I know I have to go through it, but I'm trying to of the Matrix. You know, like Neo's thinking. You know, the reflective moment is I'm going to go back in and save Orpheus. Can't think of his name.
Morpheus.
The main guy. You know, but I think I might die doing it. But that's his moment of reflection that it's worth it to me to go in and do it. But as
It's
a
gonna be-
viewer, you're like, oh gosh,
Where's the-
he's going to have to die doing this. You think, you know, that's part of
Yeah.
the story. They built that suspense that he's going to do it anyway. But as he's reflecting on it, he thinks he's going to die, so we think he might as well.
And what's the? And I wrote this actually wrong. In
Inmost,
Inmost Cave. In Star Wars, where's the Inmost Cave? Before the ordeal is attacking the Death Star.
Yeah.
So right before, they're actually in a cave, aren't they?
They're in the throat of that big thing.
Well, they're
No,
on a
I'm
planet.
thinking when.
Which one?
I'm
They're-
thinking, is it when
Star
Luke,
Wars.
is when Obi-Wan has come back from the dead and is talking to Luke, saying, "Trust your instinct."
Well, that's when he's flying
That's
in.
later.
But think about it. Right before they attack, they're all, if I remember correctly, I mean, they're on this planet, but they're in an actual
Oh, yeah.
cave, right? And in this cave, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I think at one
yeah,
point they
it's
say,
cold.
you know, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do it. And I mean, but they're all reflective. But if you think about it, George Lucas followed this thing to
To
the
a T,
letter
yeah.
almost, right? So ordeal is self-explanatory. We know what the ordeal is, right? The big.
Fighting the witch.
It's getting ready to go down. It's getting ready to happen.
Harry Potter facing off with Voldemort.
It's
Is
not
Is that your
necessarily the
climax? Is
of
it?
the movie.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it?
It can
I
be.
mean,
Sometimes
you
it
go through
is.
the ordeal, and then there's a climax, right, of the movie, like the end of it? Or-
That's
Was
the
this
act.
all
That's
And
kind of
a
what
lot
it
of
is
times
to
at the
go
end
on.
of the ordeal, that's kind of the climax. I mean, where I mean, just everything comes ahead and the explosion and something gets resolved.
Okay.
Is this the entire checklist though? Before
No, we got
No.
more.
Okay, well, maybe we can
That's
find, okay, that's why I was wondering, I was like, well, wait a minute,
Yeah.
the ordeal, there's
Yeah.
more maybe to come.
So this is water on the witch. And the witch melts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Getting
that's the
there.
main thing. I mean, Dorothy has more that she has to do after that, but that's kind of like, I mean, killing. I mean, that's the major bad person in the
Yeah.
movie, and she wipes her out. And so that pretty much kind of is the climax. But we have. Here's the thing: readers aren't satisfied if this happens and you stop the story, and stop the story right there. I mean, we need more,
Yeah.
right? So what happens next is called the reward.
Oh.
This is also called Seize. Is that S-E-I-Z-E? Seize the sword.
Is this the denouement?
I
Or have we
think-
gotten there yet?
I think. I mean, that's where everything gets resolved and kind of tied up. You know, I would say that's more probably the road back. Here, we'll talk about that in a minute. I mean, this is more where the hero gets some kind of reward. With Dorothy, when she seizes the sword, and I think this comes from King Arthur and
Yeah.
Camelot,
Pulling
you
the
know,
sword out of stone.
yeah. Or, you know, someone, you know, fight to the death, two gladiators, two knights, and, you know, one kills the other and they, you know, get the sword. To take it back, so look, you know, here's the sword of the evil guy, that proves that the person's dead. But in this reward, Wizard of Oz, it's the broomstick, right?
Has to bring back the broomstick of the Wicked Witch, yeah.
To the wizard, yeah. And so she takes that back. She seizes the sword.
And in her mind, that's everything. She's done what she's,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
all she's needed. Yeah, I got the broom,
The end.
problem
Yeah.
solved, yeah.
Right.
You know, she doesn't know still it's coming, but in her mind, that's her reward.
Trying to think. Now here in Star Wars, you know, they blow up the Death Star. They really seize. I mean, to seize a sword may be, you know, figurative here. I mean, it's the knowledge that you blew up the Death Star. I'm not so sure.
I almost wonder if the ordeal, thinking about this now, if the ordeal is Luke learning to trust the Force to fire off those shots. That actually do it, and the reward is he finally gives in and trusts the Force enough
You know.
that the reward is he blows up the Death Star.
I don't know on this one.
But that's seizing the
Well,
sword.
you gotta remember those Star Wars, they all ran in sequels.
Yeah.
Right,
so
there's a lot more to it.
sometimes the reward isn't made too big
Clear,
because they gotta go
yeah.
on to the next.
Lucas knew what he was doing.
Yes.
Set up the
Yeah.
next two,
So
or 4
left
or
some
5,
things
whatever.
hanging.
6.
Well, let's talk about the next one, and that is the road back. So here, someone must be burning some incense or something.
Some of that too, yeah. It's a wind down tonight.
Well, you see how cool, maybe it's cooler out now, and open the windows. But, so it is going down, isn't it? Listening. The road back, I mean, Dorothy, and she's got to go back to the Wizard of Oz with the broomstick. But a lot of stories, you know, there's a road back where I look at this as the chance for the audience to decompress. Right? Where ordeal.
I think of it as fooling them. Like,
it can
they're
be that.
decompressing, but you're almost, you know, like, whew, story's over, we're just going to tie up some loose ends now,
Yeah.
all done, not knowing that there's might be no more, you know, there's going to be one more twist coming your way.
If this is the
So are there
end,
multiple?
well, if this is the end, I'm thinking almost, how is their ordinary world that we knew about gonna be changed forever?
Right, well, that's a
basically?
good way to look
You
at
can
it.
flip it right back, it's kinda what I see.
Is the road back, you can think of it as the road back to the ordinary world, but guess what? If the heroes change here, then
Never
so has their
is
ordinary
always
world.
there.
It's, you know,
Ordinary world be changed.
Right. Yeah. So, now, but what Dina said about, kind of ran out of space here, but, fooling them a little bit. All right, so the next one is resurrection. Spell it for me, Dina.
RRECTI1.
I'm not the best speller in the world, that's why I like spell check.
Two
R-E-S-U-R.
R's.
2 R's.
E-C.
TI1.
Alright, thank you. Alright, resurrection. Alright, so here's the thing, I mean, you know, we've had a satisfying story, the ordeal, the reward, the road back, where we're kind of tying things up, but this right here is one last chance to kind of twist the screws to the reader or the viewer. To have a resurrection, what do you have to have before that?
A death.
Death, that's right.
Is this where you're talking about, this is where you try to mess with their head a little bit, go, what you thought was dead is really not, and it's getting ready to,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's a horror
so
movie
it's
where the
combined
guy
kind
is
of
gonna,
11 in there.
Now, death,
zombie coming back from
Yes.
life. And
in a lot of those movies, yeah, you think everything's
Yeah.
fine, then the
Zombie
slasher
back.
jumps through the window.
So
Yeah.
my question is, are there multiple ordeals?
There
There
could
can be.
Or are those
yes.
tests?
There could be you can say that those tests are mini ordeals.
Okay.
Yeah. But everybody said it. You know, to have a resurrection, you have to have a death. But think of that death. It can be literal or it can be figurative.